Hello, you are listening to The Wellness Project with Des. I'm your host, Desiree, a mental health therapist and holistic wellness coach. On my podcast, I interview experts in the field of mental health and wellness, as well as those who share their firsthand accounts of their mental health journeys. These interviews will give you many tips, tools, and strategies to improve your mental health, as well as give you hope, support, encouragement, and inspiration on your own personal mental health and wellness journey. Thanks so much for being here. I would greatly appreciate it if you took a moment to leave me a review on iTunes and leave the podcast 5 stars on Spotify. It really helps the podcast to grow, which in turn helps me to keep bringing on amazing guests and spreading mental health and wellness education and support. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards holistic well-being, unlocking the full potential of your mind, body, and spirit? If so, I'm thrilled to invite you to my program, the Holistic Wellness Transformation Coaching Program. My one-to-one coaching program is a comprehensive and individualized approach to help you improve your overall well-being. As a holistic wellness coach, I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey to attain balance and harmony in all areas of your life. With personalized coaching sessions, I'll offer guidance and support throughout your wellness journey. Starting with a thorough holistic assessment. We'll dive into your past, habits, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and patterns that may be holding you back and no longer serving you. This assessment forms the foundation for your customized wellness plan. Together, we'll explore the 8 foundational elements of wellness to ensure you feel balanced and aligned with your goals and your values. This program goes beyond the surface, providing you with mental and emotional support. I will help you to manage stress, anxiety, and other challenges such as perfectionism and people-pleasing, offering techniques and strategies to enhance your resilience and your skills. The benefits of this program cannot be overstated. I'll be there every step of the way to support you in achieving balance and harmony in your life, manage stress, and improve your emotional well-being. Nurture healthy connections, create lasting, healthy habits, achieve your goals, and gain confidence in your ability to transform your life. Join me on this journey to holistic wellness. You could go to my website to check out my various packages, and you could go to my Calendly link found in the show notes to schedule a free 30-minute consultation call where we will go over the 8 core areas of wellness, as well as your goals and your dream life. Reach out and let's get started on your wellness journey so you can finally live the life you want. Hello there, I'm your host Des, and you are listening to episode number 171. And on today's episode, this is such a great episode. I can't wait for you to hear it because we are hearing from Dr. Debi Silber. And Dr. Silber specializes in betrayal trauma. She's been in the mental health, mindset, and personal development field for over 30 years, but when she experienced a painful betrayal by her family, and then just a few short years later, a major betrayal by her husband, these betrayals left her just shocked and completely blindsided to the point that she decided to go back and get her PhD, and she studied betrayal. She's now the founder of PBT, the Post-Betrayal Transformation Institute, and she's dedicated her life to helping individuals heal from betrayals. This is going to be such an enlightening conversation because Dr. Silber talks with us about the ways that betrayal impacts us today, even though the betrayal may have happened many, many years ago, maybe even in childhood. She talks with us about why it's a different type of trauma. She educates us on the 5 stages of healing from betrayal. And she also discusses the symptoms, the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms that are so common to betrayal that it's called post-betrayal syndrome. Now, if you've ever experienced a betrayal, which many of us have, you are going to want to listen to this episode because Dr. Silber is going to be talking with us about how the impact of these betrayals may be impacting us in ways that we never imagined, and how these symptoms and how this betrayal, this trauma, carries through into our other relationships in our lives and our experiences. This is going to be such a fantastic episode. I know that you are going to get a lot out of it. I know that this is really going to resonate with so many of you, unfortunately, right? So help me welcome Dr. Debi Silber. All right, everyone. I am here with Dr. Debi Silber. Dr. Debi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Excited to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
I am as well. To get us started, I would love if you can introduce yourself and share your story with us.
Sure. My topic is betrayal. And I don't think anybody says, "Ooh, I think I want to study betrayal." No, you study it because you have to. I'm in business 32, 33 years, health, mindset, personal development. And then I had a painful betrayal from my family. I thought I did everything I needed to do to heal from that. And then it happened again a few years later. This time it was my husband. If anybody's been through that, you're shocked, you're devastated, blindsided. So that was the deal breaker. Got him out of the house and looked at the two experiences thinking, okay, well, what's similar to these two? Of course, me, but what else? And I realized I never really took my own needs seriously. Boundaries were always getting crossed. And I'm one of those people that believes if nothing changes, nothing changes. So here I was, 4 kids, 6 dogs, really a great business. And I decided to enroll in a PhD program. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know how I was going to manage the time, but something drastic had to change. And it was in transpersonal psychology, the psychology of transformation and human potential, because I was changing so much. I didn't quite understand what was happening. He was too, wasn't ready to look at that. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal. And honestly, I studied it to help me heal. That was my whole goal. And that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my health, my family, my work, my life.
Oh, wow. This is such a fascinating topic, and I definitely want to absolutely dive into this more and your 3 groundbreaking discoveries. But first, can you share with us in the work that you do, what are some common types of betrayal that you see?
I would say the most common is relational betrayal, infidelity. There's financial betrayal as well, family betrayal. And it was interesting too. When I was doing the study, at first I wanted to study the betrayal of a family member, partner, or friend. I actually had to drop the friend part because while friends will infuriate you, will make you crazy, they don't break you. Of course, we're never broken, bent like the betrayal of a family member or a partner. Those absolutely bring us to our knees. So within the PBT Institute, that's what we see the most. Very often, though, we see repeat betrayals, which is a clear sign of an unhealed betrayal.
Okay, yes, I thought infidelity would probably be one of the top ones. So, how does experiencing a betrayal impact somebody's mental health?
Oh, it affects everything. It affects your health, your work, your relationships. I mean, think about it. This was the person, or these were the people who gave you a sense of safety and security. So when this is the person or these are the people to take that very sense of safety and security away, it's traumatizing. It hits us not just on a mental and emotional level, it hits us on a physical level too, which was actually the second discovery. That was that there's actually this collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's now known as post betrayal syndrome. And we've had over 95,000 people take our post betrayal syndrome quiz on our site to see to what extent they're struggling. A few things about that. We've all been taught that time heals all wounds, right? I have the proof that when it comes to betrayal, that's not true. There's a question on the quiz that says, is there anything else you'd like to share? And people write things like, my betrayal happened 35 years ago. I'm unwilling to trust. My betrayal happened 15 years ago. Feels like it happened yesterday. So we know you cannot count on time. You can't even count on a new relationship to heal betrayal. Unless and until you deliberately and intentionally heal it, it will follow you around in every relationship you have going forward. Every few months, I pull the stats from the quiz. I'm happy to share them if you'd want to hear.
Yeah, that would be great.
So now imagine 95,000 people, men, women, just about every country is represented. And not only listen to these symptoms, listen to the numbers. 78%, this is out of 95,000 plus people, constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. 94% deal with painful triggers. If you've ever had a trigger, you know how painful it is. The most common physical symptoms: 71% have low energy, 68% have sleep issues, 63% have extreme fatigue. Your adrenals have crashed. 47% have weight changes. So maybe in the beginning, you can't hold food down. Later on, you're emotionally eating, you're using food for comfort. 45% have a digestive issue. And that could be anything: Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, you name it. The most common mental symptoms, and to answer your earlier question, 78% are overwhelmed. 70% are walking around in a state of disbelief. 64% are in shock. 62% can't concentrate. So just let's stop right there. You can't concentrate. You have a gut issue. You're exhausted. You have to go to work every day. You have to raise your kids. That's not even emotionally. 88% experience extreme sadness. 83% are very angry. You could bounce back and forth between those two all day long. That's exhausting. 79% are stressed. Just a few more. Here's why I wrote the book Trust Again. 84% have an inability to trust. I mean, think about how that would impact your life. 67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how. Now, as staggering as those numbers were, I want to just wrap it up in this one thing. That's not even necessarily from a recent betrayal. This could be from your parent who did something awful when you were a kid. This could be from the girlfriend or boyfriend who broke your heart in high school. So think about this. That person may not know, care, remember. They may not even be alive. And here we are decades later walking around with these symptoms because of what happened decades ago. That's the biggest crime. The good news is you can heal from all of it. That was the third discovery.
That's great to hear because these numbers really are. I mean, they're jarring, they're staggering, they're
Mhm.
sad. It's really just sad, and I'm glad that you brought that up before, saying that betrayal is a trauma, because I really do believe that it is. It's very traumatic.
It's a different type of trauma too. That was actually the first discovery. I had been through death of a loved one. I'd been through disease, and I was like, this feels different. I didn't want to assume it was the same for all my study participants. So I asked them, if you've been through other traumas besides betrayal, does it feel different for you? Unanimously, they said, oh my gosh, it's so different. And here's why: because it feels so intentional, we take it so personally. So the entire self gets shattered: rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. They're all destroyed and have to be rebuilt. Think about it. If you lose someone you love, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss, life will never be the same. You don't necessarily question the whole relationship. You don't question your ability to trust. You don't question your sanity, right? With betrayal, you do. Because betrayal is a different type of trauma, it needed its own name. So I coined a new term: post betrayal transformation, the complete and total rebuild, not just of your life, of yourself as well. When you do those things, you are a different person.
That's something that will give a lot of people hope. And just to recap, can you again state what your three discoveries are?
Yeah. So the first one was what I just mentioned, that betrayal is a different type of trauma. So that type of healing needed its own name, which is now called post betrayal transformation. That there's a collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's known as post betrayal syndrome. That was the second discovery. The third, for me personally, this was the most exciting. And what was discovered was, while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, and so many people do, if we're going to fully heal, and by fully heal, I mean those symptoms of post betrayal syndrome, like I just shared, to this completely rebuilt place called post betrayal transformation, we will move through 5 proven predictable stages. And what's even more exciting about that is we know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at each of those stages. And we know what it takes to move from one stage to the next. Healing is entirely predictable. And I'm happy to share the stages if you want to hear them.
Yes, that was my next question. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So it's all we do within the PBT Institute. It's what all of our coaches get certified in. I'm going to give you a boiled down version. So, stage one, this is before it happens. And if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, what I saw with everybody, me too, was a heavy lean on the first 2 legs: physical and mental, thinking and doing. We're so good at that, right? But think about it. If a table only has 2 legs, it's easy for that table to topple over, and that's us. Stage 2, shock, trauma, D Day, discovery day. This is the scariest of all of the stages. And it's the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. Right here, you've ignited the stress response. You're now headed for every single stress related symptom, illness, condition, disease. Your mind is in a complete state of chaos and overwhelm. You cannot understand what just happened. This makes no sense. Your worldview has just been shattered. Your worldview is your mental model, the rules that govern you that prevent chaos. Trust this person. Don't go there. These are the rules. And in one earth shattering moment or series of moments, every rule you've been holding to be real and true is no longer. The bottom has bottomed out on you, and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. That's traumatizing. But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay safe and stay alive. And that's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most practical out of all of the stages. If you can't help me, get out of my way. How do I survive this? Who can I trust? How do I feed my kids? Right? Here's the trap though. Stage 3, by far, is the most common place we get stuck. You will, as I talk about stage 3, you will recognize so many people you know in this stage. Ready? We get stuck here because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma where we just came from. So we're like, whew. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we think this is it. So we plant roots here, we park here. We're not supposed to, but we don't know that. And 4 things start to happen. The first thing is we start getting all of those small self secondary gain benefits. We get to be right. We get someone to blame. We get sympathy from everyone we tell our story to. We don't feel we're getting much else. So that feels good on some level. So we plant deeper roots. Again, we're not supposed to, but we don't know that. And because we're here longer than we should be, now the mind starts doing things like, maybe you're not so great. Maybe you deserved it. Maybe this, maybe that. So we plant deeper roots. And now, because these are the thoughts we're thinking, this is the energy we start putting out. Like energy attracts like energy. So now we start attracting people and circumstances and new relationships to confirm this is where we belong. This is where we'll join that lame support group and actually sabotage our healing because we're afraid to outgrow our group. This is where we're healing. We will sabotage our growth because we're afraid to outgrow the betrayer who has no intention of changing. And this is why we stay stuck in stage 3 for life. It gets worse, but I'll get you out of here. Because it feels so bad, but we don't know there's anywhere else to go, right here we start numbing, avoiding, distracting. So now we start using food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, anything to numb, avoid, and distract. So think about it. You do that for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years later and say, that emotional eating you're doing or that drinking, whatever, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they would look at me like I'm crazy. And they would say, it happened 20 years ago. All they did was put themselves in stage 3 and stay there. And then, what happens is the longer we're in stage 3, the longer we just think this is all there is. And then we wind up medicating and suppressing all of our symptoms, having these really lame relationships, not feeling good in our health, our work, our relationships, any of it. And that's how we exist. And that's why most people stay stuck in stage 3. That's why I wrote From Hardened to Healed. I'm like, you've been through the worst of it already. Why in the world are you stopping in the worst stage possible? Anyway, if you're willing to let go of the small self benefits, grieve, mourn the loss, bunch of things you need to do, you move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Right there in that decision, you're turning down the stress response. You didn't heal just yet. You're not healing, but you stopped the massive damage you were picking up in stages 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 feels like if you've ever moved. If you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, your stuff's not there. It's not quite cozy yet, but you're like, okay, we got this. We can do this. That sort of hopeful excitement. Stage 4 feels like that. But think about it. If you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You don't take those things that don't represent the version of you want to be in this new space. And what I found was there's this one spot as we move from stage 3 to stage 4. If your friends weren't there for you, you're done. That lame support group, you're done. That betrayer who's not changing, you're done. And people say to me all the time, what the heck, is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. And if these people don't rise, you've outgrown them. So very common to shift our relationships in this stage. Anyway, when we've settled into it, we've made it cozy, we've made it sort of mentally home, we move into the fifth and most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal. Self love, self care, eating well, exercise. We didn't have the bandwidth for that earlier. Now we do. The mind is healing. We're making all kinds of new rules and new boundaries based on the road we just traveled. And we have a new worldview based on everything we see so clearly now. And the four legs of the table, in the beginning, it was just all about the physical and mental. By this point, we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the five stages.
Oh, this is really great. I think this is going to resonate for a lot of people. And just how you broke that down is so, so helpful. Give us some actionable, say somebody finds out their partner, their husband, wife, whoever
Mm.
cheated on them. What would you
Yeah.
say is their kind of,
Oof.
they want to heal, they're traumatized, can't trust? What are some kind of tips or advice you have for somebody that's going through that?
Well, first of all, I know how painful it is. It's a pain like no other. I also know how predictable that healing is as you move through the stages. If you're feeling the shock and trauma, you're in stage two. So you just need to do everything you can to get to stage three, but don't stay stuck in stage three. That's a holding space only until you do all the stage three stuff to get to stage four and then stage five. You owe it to yourself to use this trauma in your best interest. That's trauma well served. When you take your trauma and turn it into transformation, that's the beauty of the experience. You don't want to just be the poster child for betrayal or the recipient of trauma. You have an opportunity. When it comes to healing from betrayal, it truly is, as I mentioned earlier, intentional and deliberate. You are looking at and taking with you all the parts of you that you love. Are you loving? Are you compassionate? Are you a good listener? Whatever it is. And you are leaving behind everything that no longer serves. And what happens is because you've done that, you're creating a version of you that wouldn't have had the opportunity to be created had that not happened. You know, it's like my kids used to love Legos. So imagine there's like a Lego structure just sitting in the corner of a room. It's not good. It's just there, right? And then all of a sudden, it's someone demolishes it. This is the way it works with betrayal. You don't have to put it back up the same way at all. You want to look at each piece and say, do I even want that piece? I don't want that piece. Do I want this one? Yes, I want it this way. And you create this beautiful, magnificent structure. That's the opportunity. As it relates to the betrayer as well, you know, we work with a lot of betrayers in our community, a separate community for them. They have an opportunity to wake up just as well and become someone they're proud of. And we see such beautiful relationships being completely rebirthed. And it's because there's a complete and utter death and destruction of the old. And because of that, there's a new individual, you, and collective.
Okay, so after a betrayal, whether it's a partner, a family member, you do
Mhm.
believe that trust can be built in that relationship again and healing can happen and this relationship can be rebuilt?
You know, I don't believe trust can be repaired. It can be rebuilt. It's a tall ask, it's a big order. It really depends on, you know, when it comes to forgiveness, that has everything to do with us because it really has very little to do with the other person. We want to free ourselves from the pain that this power has over us. When it comes to reconciliation, that has so much to do with that other person. Of course, you don't have to do anything, but it has so much to do with that other person because if they're not completely owning it and remorseful and apologetic and wanting to change, what in the world are you doing? Like in my own scenario, just to close the loop on my story, rebuilding is always a choice, whether you rebuild yourself and move along. And that's what I did with my family. No one was changing. It wasn't an option to rebuild with them. Or if the situation lends itself, if you're willing, if you want to, you rebuild something completely brand new from the ground up, entirely different with the person who hurt you. That's what I did with my husband not long ago, is to totally transform people. We married each other again. New rings, new vows, new dress, and our four kids as our bridal party. Never in a billion years would I have done that if I wasn't totally different, and for sure if he wasn't either. Betrayal will show you who someone truly is, but it also has the opportunity to wake them up to who they temporarily became. You still don't have to do anything with that, but the opportunity is there at that point if you want to.
Wow, that's so amazing to hear and so inspiring. So, say a partner or a family member, they do take that accountability.
Mhm.
They do want to change and change their behaviors. Do you have any tips or advice for someone who wants to rebuild? Any steps they can take, any sort of actionable things they can do to rebuild this relationship?
I'm going to give you the answer in an analogy because you will see it so clearly here. I look at trust, which is one of the most important features that needs to be rebuilt. I look at trust like a brick wall. The only way I know of a brick wall being built is brick by brick by brick, right? Trust works the same way. Every opportunity someone has to show that they're trustworthy is like one brick in that brick wall. So it takes time to build. Then the person comes along and completely shatters that brick wall, right? You can look at the rubble of bricks and say, I don't have the least bit of interest in watching that thing get rebuilt. Totally fine, walk away. However, if you are willing to watch that brick wall be rebuilt, that would be your job. You don't have to, but if you want, the person who shattered that brick wall has to be a really good bricklayer. And they have to lay down those bricks the same way they did the first time, brick by brick by brick. Every opportunity, they have to show that they're trustworthy again, is one brick in that brick wall. But here's what I see so often: the person who builds the brick wall shatters it. They really don't have much of an interest in building it. But the other person who's so sad, whose heart is so broken, says, fine, I'll rebuild it. No, that's why they never feel safe. That's why they never trust. Or the person is kind of putting a brick in, but then taking another one out, putting a brick in, taking another one out. No, 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 no. They have to deliberately and intentionally build a rock solid brick wall. The other person, if they want, they're willing to watch that brick wall be rebuilt.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I love that. And I think a lot of people can understand that through that
Mhm,
analogy.
mhm.
Dr. Debbie, this has been fantastic and so informative, such an important conversation. Do you have any last words of wisdom or advice for somebody that is feeling just so hurt and traumatized by a major betrayal?
Yeah. I would say this, even if you have to repeat this a million times, it's worth it. You ready? Even though it happened to you, it's not about you. It's not about you. This was someone else's lack, issue, unhealed trauma, whatever. There is no excuse for that at all, but it is not about you. Do the work to heal. Move through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. There's a roadmap for you. And take that trauma and turn yourself into a version of you that is so strong, so healthy, so whole, so healed. That's trauma well served.
I love that you mentioned that because so many people internalize that and blame themselves, and it really ties into their self worth and questioning themselves. So I'm so glad that you shared that. Thank you so much for being here today. I would love if you could share where everyone can find you because I know that they're going to want to.
Oh, thank you. Everything is at the PBT, as in post betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com.
Okay, perfect. And everyone, I am going to put that link in the show notes. So definitely go check out Dr. Debi Silber. And Debbie, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. This was such a powerful and important conversation.
Thank you.
I really hope that you liked this episode and gained a lot of value from it. If you did like this episode, please share it on social media. You can tag me at The Wellness Project with Des on Instagram and at According to Des on Facebook. If you do enjoy my podcast and gain value from it, I would greatly appreciate your support. You can show your love and support by buying me a coffee. This will help my podcast to grow and in turn will help me to keep bringing on amazing guests. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/the wellness project with Des to show your support. All books written by or recommended by my amazing podcast guests are listed on my Amazon storefront. Go to the link in the show notes to check out those books. I would love to extend an invite to you to become a part of my community. You can do this through Facebook, where we will be discussing this episode. I would love for you to share your insights, any aha moments, any thoughts or ideas you would like to contribute. You can contribute in the discussion taking place in my Facebook group, and it's a great place to connect with me because I am in there every day with mental health and wellness content, discussions, reflections, journal prompts. It's a fun and supportive place to be. You can find the group at facebook.com/groups according to Des, and that link will also be in the show notes. You can also check out more of what I'm doing on my website, accordingtodes.com. You'll find a lot of wellness blogs, written interviews, detailed podcast show notes, and my shop, where you will be able to find workshops, my self-care course, digital downloads, ebooks. There's a lot going on my website, so make sure you check that out at accordingtodes.com. And while you're there, join my email list to stay in the know about what I have going on and available for you. When you sign up, you will get your free ebook, The 5 Stress Reduction Techniques to help you feel more relaxed. Thank you so much for being here. I will talk to you next week. So until then, I hope you have a calm and peaceful week.